Hello, everyone. Toa TV back here again. Um, and today we're just going to talk about why or what Manchester United needs to do this offseason in order to ensure success for next season. Um, and by success, I really mean just top four. I think the Prem is getting pretty difficult. You know, Arsenal and Man City are just cut above the rest, and Liverpool even may or were last season and may be with Slut, and so we'll just have to see. Um, but yeah, I think I'm just gonna run through what we should do this season, the moves that I think we should make, the players we should get rid of, the players we should sign, um, to really, you know, get us ready for next season. I think it could be a really successful season if we go about it the right way. Although I will say I'm a little bit worried given Ineos. We're hearing a lot of things about, there may not be enough money, a lot of concerning things, a lot of, I'm not seeing enough movement in the transfer window, but I'd like to say that I think this might be our new strategy now. Last year we said, we don't have any money. We end up spending like 175 million. So, we'll see. Can't really trust everything that you hear right off the bat, but I'm hopeful. And I think with Ten Hag in, if we're able to make these signings, I think we're going to be really a force next season, force to be reckoned with, and that we should be back in the Champions League in 2 years. And honestly, I think in 2 seasons is when 2 to 3, but two is when we could see us win the league. Pep, I believe, will be gone from Man City at that time. Um, Ten Hag will have 3 seasons. He would have been there for a while. He's already been pretty successful. I just see only more success coming in the future, especially if we do we make the right moves. So I'm looking at the goalkeepers. I have the squad pulled up on my computer right here, and we have Tom Heaton. Um, we can keep him. Maybe just as like maybe Johnny I'm gonna get to Evans, but maybe just like a role with the club, not necessarily as a player. But we have Bayern already as a backup. We have Onana, and I think all of our goalkeepers should stay. I mean, Onana had some blunders, but most saves most saves this season in the Premier League. You know, we were just getting so many shots. He had to face so many shots on a consistent basis, but he was getting a lot of stops. The beginning of the season, it was a bit shambolic. He was really the reason why we were out of the Champions League so early. Unfortunately, it's my Cameroonian. That's Cameroonian brother. But I think he's class. I think he showed that in the FA Cup final. I think he showed that with Inter. He's a quality goalkeeper. I think he needs to work on his technique a little bit in terms of saving. Bit of blunders that moving forward are not going to be acceptable. But you know, hopefully he gets those out of his game. And yeah, Brian Deere, we haven't really seen much of anything from him, but no reasons to believe that he isn't good enough to be backup. So moving on. Victor Lindelof. Victor Lindelof. Victor Lindelof. Victor Lindelof. I'm gonna say we we keep Lindelof. He was injured a lot this season, but I think he's a very quality technical player. Um, he's good on the ball, all of those things. He's not really the best, to be honest, in my opinion, but I think he's done well for the club. He's fine, taking a backseat role. Um, and we're not going to get that much for him anyways. He's versatile. He can play a lot of different positions in the back line. He could even play CDM, potentially, if we need him to do that. So I think we keep him for another season. Maguire, while I do want Maguire to stay because I think he's proven, he could be a real asset for the club. He's shown his value on, from time to time. I don't think he's, I don't think he's a starting center back. And I think, he's going to play with England, the Euros. He's probably going to play well with them. He played well for us this season. He's good for a goal. If you're not playing a high line, he could be amazing. Like, even sometimes when we were playing semi high line, he was really, really good. I think we could fetch like 30, 40, like 40 million, probably 40 million for him this summer. And I think, you know, that's going to be, that's going to be important for us. Let me just keep track of how much money I'm saying that we're going to fetch right here. So we got 40 for Maguire. Martinez, what do I have to say? Like, he's just amazing. He's honestly our best player. There's nothing else to say. Future captain of the club. We saw his performance in the FA Cup. It was amazing. Whenever we play, whenever he plays, we just feel so much more secure. And, there's a real swagger about us when he's on the field. And there's a real swagger with him. Malacia has to stay. I think he was brilliant his first season. Of course, he's been out all season this year, but he seems like a motivated player. He seems like he'll come back strong, ready to fight for the club, fight for his spot. He can invert. He can play on the left back and the right back. He's just a quality player. I think defensively, he's an amazing fullback. There aren't really many issues that I see with him, except hopefully he could just come back healthy. Varane's already leaving. It's truly a shame because he's only 31. I think Martinez and Varane is one of the best center back partnerships we've had since Rio and Vidic. Probably the best, honestly, the best that I've seen with my own eyes. And I think, it's really a shame. Like, the first season Ten Hag was here, they proved that they were brilliant. And yeah, what else is there to say? Dallo is honestly our best player this season, most consistent, always there. We need players like Dallo who are just physical specimen. We don't have enough of them. And I think this is where Ten Hag, I think coming from the Eredivisie, he wasn't necessarily, I think he was attuned to like the physical demands of the Premier League, but not fully. And you see with like Eriksen, some players like that, Casemiro. We need players like Dallo who can run, just rapid, up and down the pitch, strong, who just have endurance. We're really built for it. So Dallo, of course, has to stay. I think he should be our starting right back next year. Shaw also has to stay. If you watch the last video, you're gonna see that, my opinion, he's top 5 center back in the world when healthy. Hopefully we're going to see him in the Euros and he's going to prove it again, but he's just brilliant. And, I think Rashford definitely benefits when he's on the pitch. Hopefully he can be healthy next season because when he is, there really aren't just many players that are better than him at the end of the day. And then Wan-Bissaka, I think Wan-Bissaka has to stay because, we face a really good left winger. Like, say we're back in the Champions League at some point, or say we're playing, people think Saka's the best. Arsenal fans think Saka's the best player in the world. Or we play Salah. Like, you put Wan-Bissaka on him, you're not, or I guess Salah. What am I talking about? I'm talking about right wingers. But you face some of the best left wingers. Like, look at Doku. Doku came on and he did nothing. He was pocketed in that FA Cup final. You keep Wan-Bissaka, just play him against a top left winger, they're just getting clamped. Like, they're not going to do anything. And I think you need players like that in your squad, even though he might not necessarily be tactically in line with what Ten Hag sees for the team. You need players who can come in, do a job for you, because that is how ultimately you can win Premier Leagues and win trophies. Park Ji-sung, he wasn't necessarily a starter, but he came in, he did a job. There we go. Johnny Evans, I would have no problem bringing Johnny Evans back, especially if we're not able to sign the center backs that we need to this summer. If not as a player, some sort of coaching role, he needs to be involved in the club. I think he was class when he played this season, played a little bit more than we would have liked probably, but he has the spirit. He knows what it means to be a Manchester United player, and he can perpetuate that around the club and bring that spirit to the players. Um, and then other than that, we have Kambwala. Expecting big things from Kambwala this upcoming season. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna see about that. Obviously, keep him, Harry Amos. I want to see him in the preseason tournament. I think next season it might be his time to break through, get a couple games here and there. Hopefully, Shaw and you know, um, Shaw and Malasi are able to help him, and he'll have to fight for his spot, and that'll only make him better. So yeah, moving on to midfielders, Bruno. Bruno, of course, has to stay. I mean, he's never injured. He's our captain. He brings the spirit. We saw the Players Tribune article that he had for the FA Cup, and then we ended up winning the FA Cup. We saw the assist that he had in the FA Cup. We saw the 2 games that he missed. He's almost never injured. The 2 games that he's missed for us out of injury, we saw how much worse we performed. And then once he was back against Newcastle, against Brighton, we saw that we were just a far better team. So he has to stay, obviously. Creates so many chances. I think he's got his composure back. He knows he didn't play up to standard this season. He's going to be motivated. He's to do better. And he just brings that, he demands a lot from the team. Eriksen has to go. He's just not good enough. We got him on a free. He did amazingly well the first season, and kudos to him. But he complained this season he wasn't getting enough playing time, but the performances just were not good enough. Physically, he's just not suited for the Premier League at this point in his career anymore. I think we can part ways with him, get maybe like 6 million, send him to Ajax or something, get a little bit of money for him. And so, yeah, Eriksen definitely has to go. Casemiro also has to go. Physically, he's not quick enough. He's so slow. I think this season I saw him go down so many times and not even touch the ball, not even have a glimpse at it. Especially that Crystal Palace game is just bringing back nightmares for me. I mean, Elise just made him look awful. I think Casemiro, and then he had to play center back too because of our issues there, which didn't really help either. There's perception of Casemiro, but I think he was a good servant for the club. He helped us win that Carabao Cup, helped us be successful in the Premier League initially, but I think, his time is up for this team. He's not good enough. I don't want to see him play next season. I think we can get 40 million for him if we sell him to Saudi, maybe even 45, but for my numbers, I'm going to go with 40. McTominay. I think McTominay has to stay because he knows what it is like to be a Manchester United player. He came in, we didn't have many strikers, and Ten Hag was able to use him brilliantly, and he saved many games for us, won many games for us, and, what else is there to say? Like, he's happy being on the bench. He'll come on, he'll score a goal, he'll do a job, and, he even captained us this season. Like, he has the mentality of a United player, and you need those players to boost him around the squad. Even though we could get a little bit for him, I think he proved that he should be a mainstay this season. Manu has to start next season. And I don't want to see him in CDM, although I think he could do it next season. He could play anywhere in the midfield. He's such a talented player. He's honestly going to be generational. Like, he's just brilliant. I'm just so happy that we have him. But yeah, he has to start next season. I mean, there's nothing else to be said. He has to be in the squad. Mount as well. I think, I heard Ineos or Jason Wilcox pointed out that, our youngsters were playing too many minutes. Clearly, I mean, that was because of the injuries, but think you need to keep Mount. He he didn't play much this season at all because he was always injured, but I feel like when he did play, he was great for us. Um, he scored that goal. You know, he just has that urgency. He runs, he defends. We kind of just need that in our midfield, and I think going back to, you know, our young players playing too much, I think he can rotate with Mainu next season if we bring in a CDM. And he can also play, you know, on the right, on the left, up top. Like he's a versatile. He can also rotate with Bruno if needed. Like he's a versatile player. He can play in a lot of places, and he's just quality player. We haven't seen enough of it yet because he was injured, as many of our players were. But I think we will definitely see it next year. And then we got Amrabat. Um, I think I think we could bring Amrabat back. He's shown that he'll fight for the badge. He's a great player. Um, you know, there was one, I forgot which game exactly it was. One performance he had that was just absolutely shambolic. Like it was one of the worst performances I've ever seen. But other than that, he showed, I think, especially, I mean, against City, like towards the end of the season, he showed that he could be really good for us. I think he just didn't play that much because we didn't want to have to trigger some, you know, financial clause for him. But I think, let me just check how much could United buy Amrabat for? Ooh, we can make the deal permanent for 21 million pounds. I mean, mm, that's a lot. That's a lot. I think, I think that, I think, you know, let's let's pay that. Um, let's keep him because, you know, I think it's good to have depth. We saw injuries can happen. He's proven that, you know, he could be a good player for us. He fights, he runs. He's one of those physical specimens that I was talking about. I think we need somebody like that at the club. And I think he's willing to die for the badge. He's not going to be frustrated if he's not playing that much. And so we'll keep him. Um yeah. Moving on to the front line. Martial's going. I mean, I think it's about time. He just hasn't been healthy. Even when he hasn't been good enough. And I've been telling people, I just think he never should have tried to become a striker. He clearly was not that. He was a winger, tried to put on this weight, and I think that's why he's dealt with a lot of these injury issues. Um, but yeah, Rashford has to stay for me. I mean, Rashford could go and we could get we could get a good amount of money for him. But, you know, he loves this club. Fans have been tough on him, but he still wants to stay. You know, he's going to give it everything he's got next season. He missed out on the Euros. That's only going to motivate him. I think next season we're going to see him back up to top form. Anthony can go, honestly. I don't know who we'd be able to sell him to. But I think if we sold him, we could get like 30, maybe 30 mil for him. But I'm just going to put 20. But yeah, Anthony can go. I think there's a player there. He's had, you know, first season he had so many chances though. This season he had some chances. Form wasn't really there, but you know, he missed a month. Like there were issues. He hasn't really had a fair chance, but I think we're gonna bring in a right winger hopefully this season. At least that's what I'm gonna suggest. And a lot of you may know who that is. And so I think with him, I think Anthony has to go. So I'm just gonna we sell Anthony, get like 20 million for him. Garnacho has to stay. He was definitely one of our top 3 most important players this season, consistent. Not too consistent. Like he's not world class yet. He's not, you know, Manu's levels ahead of him. I think even Diallo is arguably better than him. Um, and Hoyland, but I think Garnacho, he has the mentality. He's young. He's had brilliant moments this season. He shows that he's willing to fight for the club. He wants to win. Um, and yeah, he's a part of this young core that Ten Hag has brought through. And I think, you know, of course, he has to stay. Diallo, very much the same. Didn't get enough opportunities this season because of injury, but absolutely brilliant player. I think he's going to be able to help us play that possession, attractive style of football that we want to play. He's brilliant with the 1-2s. Just has a maturity to his game. We've seen him score 2 goals, 2 crucial goals, 2 important goals. He actually will provide Hoyland with service. Which also I would say Rashford, he doesn't get enough credit for. I feel like Rashford definitely makes an effort to do that as well. Diallo has to stay. Shoretire, I just haven't seen enough from him. I think, if we're not able to, I think he has to go, honestly. I think he has to go. I think we get like 13 million for him, hopefully. I think there may be a player there, but we just haven't seen enough, and we have a lot of players that are already, around his age that have already shown they have the level that it takes, and he hasn't quite done that. I think, a change of scenery may be best for him. Then we have Hoyland. Hoyland has to stay. I think, Hoyland has to stay. He just hasn't received enough service, but highest conversion rate in the Premier League. Scored like 16 goals in all comps, I think, this season. He had some hot streaks, and we can see when he gets the ball, when he gets opportunities, he scores. He's going to be amazing. I think Ten Hag said that, like, when Neville was interviewing him, that, we feel that we got the highest potential striker last summer in him, and I think that's exactly what we got. I think we still need another striker, who I'm going to get into, who I think we should sign to give him competition. But yeah, I think he has to stay. And Wheatley could also start to break through and provide that that competition. And so, want to see a little bit more from him this season. We saw only a few cameos, but he's been doing really well for the youth setup, and I think we need to see him next season. But yeah, so all of that, I think, taking all of that into account, the number that I got is 98 million in net, taking into account re-signing Amrabat or making that deal permanent. And I think we'll already have a transfer budget of about 100 million euros. I mean, pounds or whatever. So that leaves us at about 198. Let's just round it up to 200 million to spend this summer. And so we need center backs. This is obvious. We keep hearing Todibo. Honestly, I don't know how I feel about Todibo. I've seen some highlights. I think he's pretty good. I don't love necessarily what I see when I watch him play. And I think it's a little bit weird that, Ineos, that Ratcliffe owns Nice, but we still have to pay like 40 million. I feel like we should have a discount. There's a lot of weird things going on there. And so I think we should try to go for Lenny Yoro. I know he wants to go to Madrid apparently, something like that, maybe PSG, but I think if we want to sign, if we're trying to start a new chapter, we're just trying to build for the future. We're trying to find the new, like Ratcliffe said, we're trying to find the new Mbappe. I think we have to sign Euro. We have to do everything we can to try to sign him. And I heard he has a release clause of around 60 million. And I think we have to take that. We have to try to sign him. That leaves us with 140. If we're able to get that through, I think him and Martinez would be the best center. It would be beautiful to watch. I think that would be our center back partnership for the future. And yeah, I think he's amazing on the ball. He's rapid. You know, when I was watching his highlight. I haven't watched many of Lille games, but I was able to watch his highlights, and he's just class. He just makes it look so easy. He's just a cut above the rest, and I think he's gonna be. I mean, there's Saliba, but I think in the future he's gonna be top three center back in the world, and I think we definitely should get ahead of that and try to sign him now. I think Tosin Adarabioyo is also class. He's free. I think we need to sign him. I think he can play on either the left or the right, just in case Martinez gets injured. We need depth in the squad, and so yeah, I think we need to sign him. Yeah, we need to do everything we can. I think Ashworth was at Newcastle. Newcastle was fond of him. I think we get this deal through. I mean, we're Manchester United at the end of the day. I think we can sell this project to him. Ten Hag can sell it, and I think we need to sign him. Honestly, I prefer him to Debo. I think he's bigger, he's quick, he's good on the ball still. You know, he's Premier League proven. That's the other thing. I think Euro might take some time to settle into the squad. We don't want to bring him in and immediately start him. He's only 18. He's coming from Liga. He needs a little bit acclimation period, and I think Ten Hag is going to be a good judge of that. And I think, having Lindelof, having Campwalla, having Adarabioyo, I think that's going to help Euro be able to work his way into the squad seamlessly. I think, we shouldn't see many issues there. Left back, we're gonna come back to left back, and we're gonna see, because of course we dealt with a lot of injuries there, but I think, I think we should revisit that. I think we'll probably be healthy, hopefully, next season in that department. But we're gonna come back, see how much money we have after some of these other signings. CDM, I really, really want us to sign Joao Neves or Adam Wharton. I think those are going to be the two best CDMs for the future. I think Neves is just what a player. I mean, can defend, press resistant. He's a little bit small is the only thing, but can defend, press resistant, dribble, pass, score. He can do everything. He's honestly, I think he's the perfect player to put alongside Manu, both for the future. But sounding like Benfica has always been very extortionary, and it's sounding like it's going to be a lot of money for him. So I don't think we're going to be able to get that one through the line. Although I think if we can, we 100% need to do everything we can to sign him. I also feel the same way about Adam Wharton. I think he's the next Rodri. He's just class. Like he's got everything. The long range passing, he's a metronome, press resistant. He's just quality. And I think we're gonna see that maybe in some of these preliminary games for England. He might even actually make the full squad for the Euros. We might see that. But I think he would also be a perfect partner for Manu. But seeing that Palace paid almost 50 for him, or 40 something, I think that might be a little bit out of her price range. So I'm just going to go with Mats Wifer. Sorry, pardon me. Hopefully Slut, he worked with Slut. Hopefully Slut doesn't bring him to Liverpool, but I think he would definitely be in our price range. We'd have to pay around maybe 25 million for him. Dutch, so fits Ten Hag's criteria there. But so I'm just going to put that. That leaves us at 115 million to spend, and then we have a CDM. I think our midfield is practically sorted at that point. Oh, I forgot also, we actually have more money. We actually have more money than that, because we're gonna sell Greenwood, who I think we have to sell Greenwood, given what happened. It seems like, management has already made their decision on that. And so I think we get 40. I'm just going to be conservative with these estimates. I think we get 40 for him, even though he's worth more. And we also have to get rid of Sancho. I understand why he felt he couldn't apologize, but ultimately is a little bit unprofessional. He's the manager. You have to, he's in charge. And it feels like, okay, you're doing, he feels like he's doing so well at Dortmund. He's happy there, even though after Ten Hag gave him chance after chance. Even though I do believe he should have been playing over Antony. I don't see what's going on in training. And I thought Ten Hag could have handled that a little bit better, but Sancho should have apologized, and ultimately he can't come back to the club. And I think we can get 50 from Dortmund for that. So after all those signings that I already named, that leaves us with 205 million still. And so, and I was gonna say, if we are unable to get Euro against the line, then or across the line, then I'd say we should bring in Todibo. But only if Euro's not a possibility. But yeah, that leaves us with 205 million, 225 if we end up going with Todibo instead of Euro. But so actually this changes a lot of things. But let me first go to the front line, and then I'll come back. The front line, I think we need to sign a striker. Guirassy, I think, is class, proven Bundesliga. Even though it is the Bundesliga, proven striker, he's going to provide competition for Højlund. We still want Højlund to get a lot of minutes, so we don't want to bring someone who's so much better than him. But I think Guirassy's record this season was outstanding. He's got a record, he's got a release clause of like 15 million or so. So I think we have to jump on that, given, situation with our finances. I think proven talisman like that who just bags goals is something that we need to bring into the club. Brings a different profile as well. I think we definitely need to bring him in. And then Olise. I'm just in love with Olise. I think he's going to be one of the best right wingers in the world. Honestly, I think he's Rashford level already. His creativity is just, he can cross, he can score, he can cut inside, he can go on the outside. Like, he's just complete. And physically, I think Antony struggles physically in the Premier League. I think Olise has already proven that he's up to the standard needed physicality-wise in the Premier League. And his numbers were just great this season. Was a little bit injury prone this season, which is a little bit of a concern, but I doubt that will carry on. And we have Diallo as well. And so I think those two will compete, push each other, make each other better. I think Olise wants to come to the club. 60 million, we got to get it done. So let me just... do both of those. After that, we have 130 million left to spend still. And if that is the case, I feel like I've kind of gone through everything. I think if João Neves is going to be... I feel like Benfica can't expect 100 million. I think that might be his release clause. I think we could get him for 80, and if that's the case, we absolutely have to. Bruno's also Portuguese. Dalot's Portuguese. Like, they'll bring him in. They'll get him acclimated to Manchester United, the culture and everything. But he's a top player. He's a top player for the future. I think he's like one of those Rodri type play. I love Rodri, and I think he's just one of those type of players. He's a little bit small, but again, we bring in Viper, we bring in Neves. I think, that's just brilliant. That's just brilliant work, honestly. I think with that midfield, we have a lot of options at CDM that allows Manu to get forward, be a little bit more free, which I think is crucial for him and his development. And yeah, again, we're trying to send the next Mbappes. I think Neves is exactly that, and we don't want to look back on this a couple years later, like with Rice, or like with Caicedo initially, or Basuma, like all these players that we missed out on. We don't want to look back in the future and see that we missed out on him. And I think, if we do make these moves and we still have 130 million left after all of that, we need to go for him. I think we could get him for around 80 million. And that leaves us with 50. And since we still have 50 left, I think Nouri from Wolves, quality player. I think we should be able to get him across the line for 50, get some extra insurance at left back. Um, and yeah, I think I think if we do all of that, I don't see why we wouldn't be, challenging for a Champions League spot next season. I think Ten Hag, I think that would be way more than Ten Hag is expecting this summer. And I think if we're able to get all that across the line, we seriously could win the Premier League in 2 years. Klopp is gone, so Liverpool has a little step back, even though similar tactically, what they try to do. And they have a great squad, but City also, I think, Pep is leaving after next season. Is what it seems to be happening. I think in 2 seasons is when it could really be up for grabs, the Premier League. And I think if we make these signings, I think we'll be in pole position to get into the Champions League next season, maybe win another trophy. Because Ten Hag, he won with this injury-ridden squad this year. He won the FA Cup, and last year we were worse, and he still won the Carabao Cup. So I think we do all these things. I think we check every single box that we need to moving into next season. I think this sets us up with a good squad for the next season and for the future, and to just really be dominant. And I think these are United signings, going back to the youth. And yeah, it's honestly all I really have. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. Sorry, it's kind of a long video, but no, I'm just passionate about this. And I want my club to do well. I hope that we can make some of these signings. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Toe TV out. Deuces.